Michael Bisping was talking about the possibility of Jon Jones and Tyson Fury. And that puts Michael Bisping in a kind of a hard position because of the British tie-in, because of the connection. Fury most definitely knows who Bisping is and what he's accomplished and has supported him. And the same goes for Bisping, who is cheered for and been behind and knows the body of work that is Fury. It puts Bisping in a tough spot. One of the reasons that I turn to Bisping so much for MMA content and news is because he's straight. It's not, he doesn't lean towards, I like this guy more. And it's a very common thing, but Bisping spoke about this, and he speculated that Jones versus Fury would do as big, if not bigger numbers than Floyd versus Conor. So, for fun, let's say we're there. Let's say the fight gets signed. Jones versus Fury. How big do you think that would be? How big do you think that would be, and why? And there's always a problem with a fight. There's always, when you get the heads in the room, the smart guys, known as the promoters, that are going to bring this to you, they identify what those conflicts are going to be, and they lay out a plan and a path within that room for how they're going to deal with it. And the problem would be that there is nothing from a competitive standpoint that would make any kind of sense or lead you to believe that Jon Jones could go with Fury. I don't know if I see it that way. You know the dum-dum that comes into these conversations all the time? And we've got memes for him, whether it's just bleed or I do UFC, I train UFC. We got these memes that go around, right? And you always have some jerk, no matter how many times you prove it to them, all the way back to the inception in 1993 in Mobile, Alabama. You always get somebody that denies reality. I'm never that guy. That guy has never been me. I'm on the other side that's yelling, that's trying to convince, that's willing to prove it, that wants to bet money, that wants to show the other side. That's where I am. I think Jon Jones would beat him. I think Jon Jones would beat him. That's crazy. I do not think that Jon Jones should be on the Olympic team for boxing. I'm going down to amateurs, right? I'm not talking about world class. I'm not talking about pay-per-view fighters. I'm talking about amateur status done in a back room in a YMCA. I don't think that Jon Jones should be the one that represents his country at the Olympic Games on that level. And I think he could beat Tyson Fury. Why would I say something so stupid? Why would I possibly do that? Well, let's back up to the Conor fight. I mean, if we're using Conor and Floyd as the great example of how we do business and how we cross-pollinate between boxing and MMA, if we're going to do that, then let's at least try to remember the timeline, because the very first thing that Dana White put out, and I do mean the first thing, he knew there was a problem. Having a guy who's never done it go against a guy who's done it 50 times and never been beaten, he knew there was a problem. But he also recognized that Conor McGregor would fight southpaw, and Floyd Mayweather historically had problems with southpaws. So Dana gets his video team together, and nobody gets to get up and go home for the day until they have made a compilation of Floyd Mayweather getting stung with left hands, exactly what Conor McGregor did to him, exactly what Zab Judah did to him, just by example. And Dana changed the narrative to Conor has to beat Floyd. The guy that's never done it is going to get the jump on a guy who's never lost at it. He changed the narrative. And he made it about one position. This guy has a problem with the straight left. This guy is good at hitting people with a straight left. Dana changed it. All of a sudden, that is interesting. All of a sudden, that is fascinating. All of a sudden, you can buy that. Now, why would I come out and tell you something as stupid as I think Jon Jones could beat Tyson Fury? Would I just want my name ran in the mud for being a dum-dum? Well, If we went into that same editing room and we broke down those same features, I could show you close to 25 fights from Jon Jones. I don't think he said quite that many. You understand my point. I can't show you that many times that he's been hit. You've only got 4 legal punches in boxing. You got a jab, you got a cross, you've got an uppercut with either hand, and you've got a hook with either hand. You got a jab, a cross, an uppercut, and a hook. That's it. There's no other punches that you can do in boxing. Now, you can take those to the head, you can take those to the body, you can take those to the chest, you can take that to the liver, you can take that to the kidney, but all you've got is a jab, a cross, an uppercut, and a hook. And fight after fight after fight, great fighters, all combined. I'd have a hard time showing you Jon Jones with a black eye. I could do it. I'd have a hard time showing you Jon Jones with a bloody nose. I could do it, but I'd have a hard time. I'd have a hard time showing you Jon Jones with a fat lip. I could do it, but it's not going to be easy. I'm not just going to go grab a few fights at random and be able to make that. I'm going to have to go through all of them. And I'm going to start to put that out. Then I'm going to show you that Jon is ambidextrous. I'm going to show you him fighting southpaw against Gustafsson while in the same fight switching and going orthodox against Gustafsson. And all of a sudden, you're going to pull back a little bit. And then I'm going to have to hear about you, about the reach, and I'm going to have to hear all these different things, and we're going to have a back and forth. But see, don't you understand? That's how you have to fight. And everybody that loves to turn to Conor versus Floyd, forget, and they forget again. You had Conor and Floyd at the table before you ever had a promoter. You had Conor and Floyd going out and talking to the media before you ever got a promoter to say, okay, let's do it. Not just Dana. Espinoza wasn't at the table either. Nobody tried to make that fight until those two had gone out to the public. And when they announced the fight, do you guys remember this? When they announced the fight, they then announced 4 dates for media tours. One of them was in Los Angeles on a Tuesday at 2 in the afternoon. This was in the beautiful dead of summer. You're not going to be able to get people in Los Angeles to do anything on a Tuesday at 2 in the afternoon. But they did. They packed the house. It was completely sold out, if you will. They gave the tickets away, but it was at capacity. You couldn't do it. They even left the country. They even went to Vancouver. Did an outdoor event, sold that thing out. Packed it. Huge. And when it came to fight time, this was a real treat. This was a circus, I understand. This was fun, though, I understand. The numbers and the level of success that was Conor versus Floyd are amongst the most embellished things in sports history. There's a reason they didn't do a rematch. So when you talk about Jones versus Fury could be equal to Conor versus Floyd, do you mean that in your stomach, in your heart as a fan, that's how you feel? You have just as much anticipation? Or are you able to lay this thing out and map it out? Do you believe on the same day that we announce it's going to be Jones versus Fury, we can then announce a 4-stop media tour spanning over 2 different countries in weekdays in the beautiful part of summertime, and that you're going to fill them up? And if you do, who's going to host it? And if you do find somebody to fill them up and host it, which one of those two is going to carry it? I'm asking you. I'm open to it. Do you believe that Fury can get up and sing and serenade his wife enough times that people keep coming back for 2-hour events? Do you believe that Jon Jones is going to be able to carry his weight? Do you believe that Floyd Mayweather carried his weight? Do you believe, looking back, that you could do a 4-venue tour over 2 different countries on weekdays to sold-out capacity arenas if Conor wasn't on that stage? Do you, looking back as fondly as you remember it, and as great a business as you're convinced that it is because somebody told you that, can you tell me one thing that Floyd did leading up to the match that made you excited for it? Floyd specifically did something that Floyd specifically said. So once we realize that Floyd versus Conor doesn't work, if Conor doesn't show up, then who is it that we are counting on in Tyson versus Jones? I'm just asking. How do we convince the audience to take a leap of faith and go down crazy land like I am? I'm taking Jones. I'm taking Jones. But how do you convince enough other people to get on the stupid train with Chael? And once we do leave the station, and don't forget, we don't care if they're punching, right? This has become very obvious. No one cares if takedowns are allowed. No one cares if the rounds are 2 minutes or 3 minutes. Nobody cares about the rules of fighting at all. But we will give you 2 hours of our time, and we'll give you $50 of our money if you can entertain us. So which between Jones and Fury do you believe, for an entire hype tour that's going to span over 2 months, which one of those two do you believe is entertaining?